She thought her battle was over, until the call came just when Nina thought she could finally breathe again. Her phone rang at 2:37 a.m. Half asleep, she ignored it. But then it rang again, and again. When she finally picked up, she heard a trembling voice on the other end. "Nina, it's Bisela. It's my sister. She's in surgery. And something's gone wrong." Bisela was one of Nina's closest friends from university, strong, smart, and fiercely protective of her family. Her younger sister, Adani, had gone in for an appendectomy that evening. It was supposed to be quick and simple, but an hour into the surgery, complications arose. Internal bleeding, scarred tissue, unforeseen reactions. The surgeon had stepped out to call in a senior consultant. The family was being asked a terrifying question. "Do you authorize a high-risk intervention?" Bisela was panicking. She didn't know what to say. Then she remembered Nina, and how she had survived something just like this. Nina's hands trembled as she listened. All the memories rushed back, the beeping, the panic, the fear. She had only just begun to heal. Could she really walk back into that place again? But then she remembered her mother's words. "We didn't fight death just to lose to despair." She grabbed her jacket and whispered, "Tell them to wait. I'm on my way." At the hospital, chaos filled the waiting area. Adani's mother was weeping. Bisela was pacing. The lead doctor looked worn out and uncertain. Nina walked in quietly, but with authority. She didn't speak as a doctor. She wasn't a nurse, but her experience gave her a strange calm. She asked the right questions. She helped the family understand the risks, not just medically, but emotionally. They decided to go ahead with the high-risk intervention. It was the only chance. The minutes dragged like hours. It was Nina's turn to wait this time. She kept praying under her breath. "God, you didn't save me for nothing. Do it again for her." At exactly 5:12 a.m., the doors swung open. The surgeon looked exhausted, but he smiled. "She's going to be okay," he said. Bisela fell to her knees, sobbing in relief. Adani's recovery wasn't easy, but she made it. Weeks later, she reached out to Nina with a simple message. "Thank you for standing in the gap." That phrase stuck with Nina. She realized something. Her pain, her trauma, it had all prepared her to become someone else's anchor. Sometimes, God allows you to walk through the fire, not just for your own refining, but so you can walk others through theirs. Nina now works closely with a support group for women recovering from traumatic medical experiences. She calls it Beyond Survival, because surviving is only part of the journey. Helping others live again is the mission. But just when everything seemed stable, a letter arrived in the mail. It wasn't from the hospital. It was from a stranger, who claimed that Nina's surgery wasn't as routine as they'd been told. The truth they tried to hide. Nina had moved on, or so she thought. She had survived the surgery, overcome her trauma, and helped save another life. But then, the letter came. There was no return address, no signature, just 5 words on the envelope. "You deserve to know everything." What she discovered next shook her to the core. The routine surgery that nearly claimed her life? It might not have been an accident. Inside the envelope was a copy of a medical report one Nina had never seen. It was dated 2 weeks before her surgery. It showed abnormal scans, but there was a bold red note at the bottom: "Surgery postponed pending review. Abnormal vessel formation suspected." But the surgery wasn't postponed. It went ahead, and nearly killed her. She flipped to the last page. A handwritten post-it note read, "They knew. Someone overrode the delay. You weren't supposed to see this." Nina remembered a strange moment before the surgery. The surgeon had seemed rushed. A phone call came in before they wheeled her in. He stepped out and returned quietly, distracted. She also remembered a nurse who hesitated, looking unsure when placing her for. Back then, she had brushed it off. But now, it all started to make sense. Someone had overridden a red flag in her file. Why? Nina went back to the hospital. She asked for her full records. The front desk receptionist looked uncomfortable, but handed her a sanitized version. The suspicious note was gone. Nina pressed further. She reached out to Dr. Teo, the young doctor who had helped save her. He looked pale when she told him about the letter. I can't say much," he whispered. But there was tension that day. Pressure to meet surgery targets. They were behind schedule, and your case was greenlit without the final scan review. Her surgery had been pushed through because of hospital deadlines. She could sue. She could expose the hospital. But part of her wondered, would it change anything? Would it reopen all the wounds she had just healed from? She sat in silence for days, angry, confused, betrayed. Then she remembered the people she had helped since, the lives touched, the moments of strength that grew from her pain. Nina decided not to sue. Instead, she wrote a powerful article and shared her full story publicly for the first time. She titled it, "I Almost Died Because of a System That Forgot I Was a Person." It went viral. News outlets picked it up, and eventually an internal investigation was launched at the hospital. One of the administrators was removed. New checks were implemented, and Nina's story became the catalyst for safer pre-op practices across multiple clinics. Standing at a small conference 1 year later, Nina addressed a crowd of young nurses. "Some people go through fire and come out bitter," she said. "But I went through fire and came out brighter." She paused. "Never forget, behind every file, behind every chart, is a beating heart. Don't ever let a deadline become someone's deathline." The crowd stood and clapped. And for the first time, Nina smiled, not as a survivor, but as a voice of change. Sometimes, survival is only the beginning. The real miracle is what you do with it. Don't forget to subscribe to Hospital Whisperer for more hospital stories.